The courtroom shimmered with soft blue light. Strange symbols glowed across the tall stone walls, and a silent breeze hummed from vents overhead. This was no Earth court. This was a judgment hall of the Virelians, the alien species that now shared Earth with humanity. They were taller than humans, their skin kissed with silver, and their voices smooth like calm rivers. Peace had been kept between the two species for a decade, but not without tension. At the center of the hall, standing stiff in his simple Earth-made suit, was Darian Vale. Just a maintenance engineer. Just a man who liked to work with his hands, fix broken panels, and drink his tea quietly under the stars. But now he stood on trial. He had no idea how things had escalated this far. The High Consul, a statuesque figure with 6 eyes and a golden robe that shifted like smoke, rose from B. Her seat, her voice rang like chimes in a canyon. "Darian Vale of Earth," she said, "you have been found guilty of honor disruption." Darian's brow furrowed. "Honor disruption? I just replaced a coolant pipe," the crowd murmured. Virelians whispered behind their curved fans. Their customs were delicate, and Darian had unknowingly insulted one of the consul's attendants by turning down a gift. A fruit. A shiny purple fruit with glowing veins. To Virelians, accepting a gift was sacred. Refusing one meant refusing. Connection. "I didn't mean silence," the consul said gently but firmly. "You are not being punished. You are being woven into our family." That sounded worse than prison. "Our laws permit one path to restore honor: union. You are hereby ordered to marry my 3 granddaughters." Darian's jaw fell. "3?" A curtain to the side lifted slowly. 3 figures stepped forward, all eyes in the court turned toward them. The first woman walked with strength in her stride. Her skin shimmered with violet hues, and her hair was braided with silver feathers. Her gaze met his without fear. "I am Nireth," she said, voice soft yet proud. "I train in the way of balance. I fight for peace." The second floated more than walked. Her robe flowed like water, and her presence was like a calm sea before a storm. Her eyes, the color of twilight, studied him with curiosity. "I am Selari," she whispered. "I see the patterns others miss. I feel deeply." The third appeared younger, mischievous, a spark dancing in her smile. She had freckles like stars scattered across her cheeks. "And I'm Tyrae," she said cheerfully. "I like Earth things, especially music, and your terrible movies." Darian blinked. This had to be a joke, a prank. Hidden cameras, maybe? But no one was laughing. "You must marry them within 7 Earth days," the consul declared, "or Earth will owe us a great debt." "Wait, this can't be real." Darian turned in a circle, trying to spot a single human face. Only one sat at the far back. His old boss, Linford, shrugged helplessly. "It's either this," Linford mouthed, "or the Virelians pull their energy grid from New Europa base." So, that was it. He, Darian Vale, quiet engineer from District 12, was now engaged to 3 alien granddaughters of the most powerful figure on Earth Virelian soil. What could possibly go wrong? Or maybe, what could possibly go right? Because as he looked back at Nireth's strong stance, Selari's calm mystery, and Tyrae's playful smirk, something stirred in his chest. A spark. He swallowed. "I suppose I'm honored." Tyrae giggled. Nireth gave a respectful bow. Selari merely smiled and said, "Then let us prepare, husband." Darian's knees nearly gave out. Darian sat on the edge of a silk-wrapped bench, hands nervously clasped together. The palace chamber he'd been led to was a mixture of alien grace and Earth-like comfort. Crystal windows, floating lights, soft rugs that warmed his feet. He couldn't stop thinking about the words the consul had spoken. Marry them within 7 Earth days. 7 days to go from maintenance tech to husband of 3 alien women. The door slid open with a whisper. Nireth entered first, wearing a dark, blue robe tied at her waist. Her long legs carried her with quiet strength. She studied him, then walked to a nearby rack and picked up 2 wooden rods. "Training?" Darian asked. "You will join me," she replied, handing one to him. "Our bond must grow. We start with movement." "I haven't trained in anything except pipe repair," he said, but he took the rod. Nireth moved gracefully. Her muscles rolled like silk over steel. She guided him through stances, low, slow, deliberate. Her hands occasionally touched his arms, hips, shoulders, correcting him with care. He noticed how her breath matched the rhythm of the room. When she moved, it was like poetry. "You're strong," she said, "but your mind races too much. Hard not to, given the situation." "You were chosen. That is not shameful." He looked into her violet eyes. "You didn't choose me, though." Nireth paused, considering. "Not yet." Then she smiled, faint but real, and that single smile warmed something in him. Later, after Nireth left, Selari entered. She moved like a shadow across a moonlit floor, quiet and thoughtful. Her fingers trailed over an ancient harp set in the corner. It gave a single ringing note as she touched it. "I wanted to see if you like quiet things," she said. "I like not being yelled at," Darian offered with a half laugh. She chuckled, low and musical. "You're different. Most humans I've studied are louder, sharper. You feel softer." "Not sure if that's a compliment." "It is." Selari sat beside him, her presence oddly calming. She offered a bowl of glowing fruit slices. "Taste." He hesitated, then remembered his earlier mistake with Virelian customs. He took a slice, nodded gratefully, and bit into it. Sweet, tangy, like peaches dipped in cool starlight. Her fingers brushed his lightly as he reached for another. "I see why the stars moved for you," she said. "What does that mean?" "Sometimes the patterns of fate are gentle, but they are real." She stood and left without another word, leaving a strange ache in his chest. Something longing, something curious. The third visitor came without knocking. Tyrae danced into the room with a glowing cube in her hand, music pulsing softly from it. It sounded like a mix between jazz and something electric. "You like earth beats, right?" she asked, spinning once. "I guess. I mean, sure. I like music." "Perfect," she said, grinning. "Dance with me, husband in training." Before he could protest, she grabbed his hand and tugged him up. Her laugh was infectious. They danced badly. They stumbled into furniture. They bumped into pillows and laughed until Darian's cheeks hurt. She flopped onto the couch beside him, head resting on his shoulder. "You're not like I expected," she said. "Oh? How disappointing." "No," she replied, eyes closing. "How refreshing." Darian leaned his head back and stared at the glowing ceiling. "I still don't know how this is going to work." Tyrae hummed. "We'll figure it out. You're not alone in this. None of us are." He looked down at her. Her eyelashes sparkled faintly under the light. Her lips parted slightly in sleepiness. In one day, he'd gone from panic to something else. They were different, each one. Warrior, mystic, dreamer. And somehow, he was caught between them. Maybe this wasn't a sentence. Maybe it was a strange kind of chance. A soft voice echoed in his mind. Selari's, or maybe his own thought. Sometimes the stars move gently, and tonight they were all moving around him. The next morning, Darian woke to soft chimes echoing through the room. The air smelled of something sweet, like rain on warm stone. He stretched and sat up slowly, still unsure if any of this was real. He half expected to find himself back in his old quarters at the maintenance base, alarm buzzing, work boots waiting. But no. He was still in the Virelian palace, still engaged to 3 alien women. A gentle knock came at the door. When it opened, Nireth stood there, her hair tied back, a loose robe draped over her frame. She looked different this morning. Less formal, more human in a way. "I've prepared something for you," she said. He followed her down curved halls, the walls humming softly with pulsing light. She led him into a wide garden under a glass, a dome. Alien trees sparkled with blue fruit, and silver-leafed vines curled around pillars. At the center, a low table was set with steaming dishes. Some smelled unfamiliar. Others carried hints of cinnamon, clove, and something close to garlic. "I asked our cooks to blend earth spices with Virelian root dishes," she explained. "So you might feel more at home." Darian smiled, touched. "Thank you. This means a lot." They sat and shared the meal. Nireth didn't talk much, just ate beside him, watching carefully. When he tried something too spicy and coughed, she laughed, warm and surprised. He liked her laugh. It broke the strictness she usually wore like armor. "You're changing already," she said softly, sipping from a crystal cup. "Is that good?" "It is hopeful." Later that afternoon, Selari guided him into a quiet chamber lined with softly glowing stones. The floor was warm beneath their feet. She offered him a simple robe and invited him to sit beside her on a low mat. "We'll practice harmony," she said. "A Virelian bonding rite. It's about listening. Not with ears, with presence." Darian sat, not entirely sure what to do. She placed her fingers lightly on his wrist. "Close your eyes." He obeyed. For a long time, they just breathed together. She guided his breath to match hers, slow and deep. Time blurred, thoughts softened. When he finally opened his eyes, Selari was watching him closely. "I felt your storm," she said, "but I also felt the calm beneath it." "You're good at this," he whispered. "I've been trained. But with you, it's different. You don't hide, even when you want to." He didn't know what to say, so he simply reached out and touched her hand. She didn't flinch. Her fingers curled around his. No more words were needed. Just that soft, quiet moment between two souls. That evening, as the skies darkened above the palace, Darian found Tyrae in the main corridor. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by boxes filled with earth things, records, comic books, old tablets, tangled wires. "I raided your old base's storage," she said proudly. "Look what I found." He knelt beside her, pulling out a dusty earth music player. "This thing hasn't worked in years." "Well, fix it," she grinned. "You're the maintenance guy." He rolled his eyes and got to work. She watched him with her chin in her hands, eyes sparkling. "You know," she said, "I thought this whole marriage thing would be boring, all rituals and robes. But you're weird." "Thanks." "Good weird, the kind that surprises me." He glanced at her as he twisted a wire. "You're not what I expected either." "Oh, really? What did you expect?" "I don't know. Aliens with glowing eyes and cold hearts, maybe." She leaned closer, her voice suddenly low. "Do I feel cold to you?" Darian paused. Her face was inches from his. Her skin, faintly glowing, was warm against his hand. "No," he murmured. "You feel very real." They sat in silence, the moment thick with something tender. Then the music player sparked to life. A soft tune crackled out, an old earth song, full of longing and stars. Tyrae's smile widened. She rested her head on his shoulder again. "See? We make a good team." Darian leaned back and sighed, heart full. He was still unsure about what the future held, but something inside him was shifting. These women, Nireth with her strength, Selari with her stillness, Tyrae with her light. They were more than strangers. They were starting to feel like gravity, like they were pulling him into something bigger, warmer, maybe even beautiful. Maybe this wasn't punishment. Maybe this was fate disguised as madness. The sun on Virelia rose in deep gold, casting long shadows across the crystal towers. Darian stood on a balcony, wrapped in a soft robe the color of pale copper. He watched the alien birds glide through the sky. Their wings shimmered like stained glass. He felt different. Not entirely alien here, not entirely human anymore either. Behind him, a door slid open. Nireth approached in silence, her posture proud as always, but her eyes softer. She carried 2 wooden practice blades. "We train again," she said. He turned, grinning. "You trying to turn me into a warrior?" "No," she said, offering 1 blade. "But I want to understand how you move." They began sparring slowly. Nireth moved with elegant precision, but this time she didn't correct him harshly. She let his awkwardness unfold and used it to adjust her rhythm. When he managed to tap her side with his blade, she smirked. "You're learning." "Thanks." To a very patient teacher, her brow lifted. That was almost flattery. "Almost? I must be doing it wrong." She tilted her head, serious now. "Do you fear me, Darian?" He lowered the blade. "No, not anymore. Even knowing I could break you in a heartbeat, you could break me, but you won't." Nireth stepped closer, her breath steady. Her fingers brushed the side of his neck, lingering. "Good. I don't want a husband who trembles. I don't want a wife who pretends not to feel." She blinked, surprised. Then slowly she leaned in and pressed her forehead to his. Not a kiss, but something even more intimate. When she stepped away, her voice was quiet. "I am not pretending. I just fear feeling too much." That evening, Darian found Selari near a glowing pool surrounded by pale trees. She knelt at the edge, her robes flowing like moonlight across the grass. "Do you know what this water is?" she asked, without turning. "Magic," he offered. "Close. It's memory. The pool remembers what the heart forgets." She motioned him to sit. When he did, she touched the surface. It shimmered, and images rose, dancing lights that showed his first day in the palace, his nervous laughter with Tyrae, his stiff stance beside Nireth, the silent connection with Selari herself. "It shows truth," she whispered. "And truth helps love." Darian stared at the pool. His reflection had changed. He looked stronger, calmer. His eyes didn't hold panic anymore. "Do you think we'll ever feel real?" he asked. "We already do," she replied. "Love does not wait for logic. It grows where it can." He turned to her. "Do you love me?" Selari blinked and then smiled. "I am not sure, but my heart no longer asks permission to be near you." She reached out, and their fingers linked. Slowly, gently. It was not dramatic, but it was full of meaning. Later that night, laughter echoed through the palace corridors. Tyrae had dragged Darian into a chamber filled with floating cushions and bouncing lights. Some kind of celebration was happening. "What's this?" he asked, bewildered. "Night of courting," she shouted over the music. "We get to show. Off to the ones we want." Darian looked around at the crowd. Alien couples dancing, sharing fruit, whispering promises. "And what are you showing off?" Tyrae stepped in front of him, closer than usual, her arms draped over his shoulders. "That, I want you." The music faded around them. "Tyrae," he began. "No jokes," she said. "No games. I know you're still figuring this out. But I know what I feel." He stared at her, her glowing cheeks, her warm hands, her beating heart he could feel pressed against his chest. "I don't want to be one of 3, he said honestly. "I want to be wanted. Not just selected. You are, she whispered. By me. She kissed him. It was wild and honest, full of electric energy and the kind of boldness only Tyrae could bring. When she pulled back, her eyes sparkled. Now you're mine, a little bit. Darian's heart pounded. He was falling into 3 hearts at once, and each of them was opening in their own way. Nireth, through strength. Selari, through quiet trust. Tyrae, through fire and laughter, and somehow he was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, he could love them all back. Not because he was forced to, but because his heart was wide enough to hold more than one star. The day of the formal bonding came faster than Darian expected. He stood in front of a tall mirror, tugging nervously at the collar of his ceremonial robe, deep navy with glowing silver threads that pulsed like starlight. Around his neck hung a charm gifted by Selari, a memory stone that shimmered with soft color. His heart beat like thunder. The door opened. It was Nireth. She stepped in without a word, wearing her own formal attire. Dark gold armor shaped like leaves, elegant yet powerful. Her hair was braided with silver cords. She looked like a queen carved from light and will. I came to walk beside you, she said. He stared. That's not tradition, is it? No. But I do not care for old rules today. Today, you are mine. And I am yours. He took her offered hand, and for once, she did not lead. They walked side by side into the grand hall. It was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Thousands of Virelians had gathered. Floating lights danced in the air. Music hummed through the crystal arches, soft and slow. In the center stood Selari and Tyrae, each glowing with anticipation. Selari wore a flowing gown of white mist, gentle and serene, her smile as quiet as her voice. Tyrae, by contrast, wore a flare of crimson with glittering gems sewn into her sleeves. She practically vibrated with excitement. Darian stepped into the circle, and the Consul herself appeared above, projected as a giant, regal hologram. Tough. This day, her voice rang, our daughters of starlight take a human mate, a joining not just of blood but of hope and future. The rite began. Each woman placed a hand over Darian's heart and spoke words of their choosing. Nireth went first. You challenge me, you steady me, you do not cower. I will love you with the fire of my bones. Then, Selari, you calm my thoughts. You listen without pushing. I will stand with you, in silence and in storms. Finally, Tyrae, you made me laugh. You made me burn. You made me want to stay. I'm yours. Crazy, wild, and completely. Darian was speechless, until he wasn't. He took their hands, one by one, and spoke from the deepest place he could find. I didn't ask for this. I was thrown into it. I feared it. But you, each of you, you changed me. Showed me what love could be in ways I never expected. I can't promise I'll be perfect, but I can promise I'll be yours, fully, freely, willingly. The lights above flared bright. The crowd rose in a thunderous echo of claps and melodic chimes. They were married, not by law alone, but by bond, by truth, by choice. That night, the 4 of them sat together in a private chamber. No servants, no guards, just them, surrounded by soft pillows and glowing lanterns. Selari leaned against Darian's shoulder, humming a song from her childhood. Tyrae rested her head in his lap, tracing symbols on his knee. Nireth sat close, silent but peaceful, her fingers interlaced with his. You know, Darian said, gazing at them, Earth would never believe this. Tyrae grinned. Then it's a good thing they don't have to. Selari whispered, let them think what they want. We have our own truth now. And Nireth added, you belong to us, and we belong to you. He looked around at the three women who were once strangers, then captors, and now something far more precious. They were his home, his unexpected family, his stars in alien skies, and, in that soft, quiet night, surrounded by warmth and the soft rhythm of three hearts, Darian finally understood. The judgment that once felt like a sentence was actually a gift.